Well, hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening. It's the another session from the Bethany Business and Professional Association coming to you on all of our streaming platforms. Please share with your friends and family members who may be business owners or aspiring entrepreneurs. We have some exciting information to share with you this evening. So please make sure that you share with your friends on Facebook and your friends on YouTube and all of our social media platforms. We're going to be talking about finance tonight, which is the a very critical point, critical topic for those of us that are in business or starting businesses or growing businesses. So we're excited to share that with you this evening. So please continue to share. We're going to give it just maybe another minute to let some of you just join the session, and then we're going to get started. Really looking forward to chatting with you all tonight. We've got some amazing speakers that are going to give you some valuable tools and information that's going to help you strengthen your business and find access to capital as well. So I think we're going to just go ahead and get started here. I want to thank you all for joining us this evening. If you don't know, my name is Deborah Dickerson, and I'm part of the leadership team of the Bethany Business Professional Association. The goal of our ministry is to provide you and your constituents with valuable tools and information to help you successfully navigate your career or start a business or manage a business or grow your business. We're here to provide you with all that information to make it easier for you. In January, Reverend Richard White walked us through the fundamentals of building a business plan, which I think went really well. And I think there was a lot of information that we all took from that session. In February, we brought you some very distinguished guests on a panel to talk to you about the legal aspect of starting a business, defining the different entities that you can choose for your business and which one is best for you, as well as some insurance experts to talk to you about liabilities and risk mitigation. So it would seem only natural after those two sessions that we would bring you a session on finance. During this discussion this evening, we have a very esteemed panel that will talk to you about financing your business, access to capital, etc. So with that said, I want to remind you that through the session, please feel free to place any of your questions in the comments section, and we will get to as many of them as we can. So to get started, it is my honor to introduce our panelists for this evening. First, we have Ms. Victoria Hosendorf, who is Executive Vice President at the Enterprise Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. In this position, Victoria collaborates with regional economic development community partners to develop, launch, and support minority business owners. She offers strategic business consulting services to address business needs of 100 entrepreneurs with $1 million and plus revenues. In addition to this, she also serves as the lead for the Philadelphia Minority Business Development Agency, where she's responsible for developing and promoting growth and global competitiveness of U.S. businesses that are minority owned. Welcome, Victoria. We're really glad to have you.
Thank you, Deborah. Good evening, everyone.
And next we have Miss Blessy Thomas. I want to say that name again, Miss Blessy Thomas. What a name, right? Who's currently serving as a product director for the Philadelphia Minority Business Development Agency Care Center, which is also under the umbrella of the Enterprise Center. Blessy has also served as a senior loan officer responsible for capital initiatives of $50 million to support the growth and success of entrepreneurs in the Philadelphia and surrounding regions. Welcome, Blessy. We're very happy to have you with us this evening.
Thank you, Deborah. It's nice to be here.
Thank you. So someone is saying that they can't see me. That's kind of weird. Oh, because I have my notes on top of my camera. So I'm back. All right. So why don't we just get started? And Victoria, I think I'm going to start with you first. I'd really like like it if you could just give our audience an understanding of the Enterprise Center, who they are, what they do, how they're positioned, as well as an understanding of how it connects with the Minority Business Development Agency as well.
Most definitely. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the introduction and reading my bio. Don't I'm like, well, who is that? A lot of times I go, who is that we reading talking about? I'm just Victoria. I'm just here to share my knowledge with you this evening. So, Blessy and I both work for the Enterprise Center, which is located in West Philadelphia. I'm gonna date myself and probably some of you also on the call. If you remember back in the late 60s, there was a dance show on television called, um, why am I drawing a blank right now?
Solid
What?
Gold,
No, not before Solid Gold. Dick Clark. What was Dick Clark's show?
American Bandstand.
American Bandstand. So our office is located in the American Bandstand building. It is a historic landmark. The Enterprise Center is 30 plus years that we have been in existence and around supporting minority entrepreneurship and development and growth. The Enterprise Center started with from Wharton SBDC as trying to figure out how do we just start doing business development for Black and Brown businesses in the city of Philadelphia. We have taken people from an inception of an idea of starting in a business all the way to a brick and mortar location. With COVID-19 and being in this virtual atmosphere, we have actually been able to reach thousands of clients via the same type of format, some type of either Zoom, WebEx. This session here is a new one for me to be able to go on and be on. But it's been a great way for us to actually reach more small business owners where they are. Before you had to stop what you were doing, travel to that location. I have businesses that would get on a plane and travel, get on and fly to another city, and then have to sit in hotels. The amount of money that people have saved. So these platforms have been wonderful. The Enterprise Center, I am one of the executive vice presidents, and I am over the business unit of our organization. Enterprise Center is comprised of 3 different organizations underneath one umbrella: business, capital, and community. Our business unit have been working with, we run a couple of federal contracts where I run one, Blessy runs another. We have the MBDA's Business Center, MBDA Care Center, a small business resource transportation center under Department of Transportation, and a couple of other contracts that we manage for the city and surrounding counties. Our capital entity is we have our own CDFI, where we are able to loan out capital to entrepreneurs. And Blessy will give you some more information about what those loan services are, those capital options for you to grow your business. And the third entity is our community. We have a community development corporation where we work in the community. We make sure at some point in time, we used to go knocking on doors, making sure people knew about different anything that could help the community grow. On 52nd Street, if you guys remember back in the summer with the civil unrest, some damages was done up on 52nd Street in West Philadelphia. We have offices there. We have boots on the ground. We keep that corridor clean Monday through Friday. So our community team has been instrumental, and even Blessy has gone up some workshops with some of those small business owners whose properties had gotten damaged due to the civil unrest and also them being closed because of COVID-19. I'll stop there because the Enterprise Center, again, 30 years is a lot of information to go into, but I just wanted to share a little bit about who we are and the work that we do.
That's really great. Thank you so much, Victoria. I will come back to you with some questions shortly, but why don't we just move and get Blessy in this conversation so that she can share with us how we access capital and funding options that are out there for small businesses. And I would just ask who's ever, streaming with us today, tell us a little bit about your business, what type of business it is. If you if you're looking for access to capital, what we can do to support you, because I really want to leverage the expertise that we have on the panel today to give you the answers that you need. And sometimes the finance piece can be a little scary for a number of different reasons. So please feel free to just ask your questions and tell us where you are so that we can help support you and put you in the right direction.
Great. Good evening, everyone. My name is Blessy Thomas, as mentioned. I'm really happy to be here. And I'm going to preface this by kind of taking off of a little bit of what Deborah was saying about if there's any terminology that we're using that you don't know what it is, please don't hesitate to ask us or clarify. It's totally understandable that, some of these acronyms or some of these lingos may not be familiar. So don't hesitate to ask us. But let me kind of give you an overview of the subset of what Victoria was talking about. There are two things that Victoria mentioned, which I touch on. One is the, how you can access capital through a CDFI. And a CDFI is essentially a community development financial institution. And the purpose of the CDFI is really where, especially early on, where businesses or business owners have a challenge with accessing capital through traditional banks, right? Maybe you don't have the history, or maybe you don't have a banking relationship or something like that. Maybe you've invested a lot of your own personal stake into your business and it's affected credit. All those reasons can be sometimes a hindrance for accessing capital through a bank. And that's where CDFIs typically come into play. And so that's what a community development financial institution does. And so as Victoria mentioned, the Enterprise Center has one. And really what they offer, you can see it. Let me put this up on the screen. You can see on the left-hand side, what it offers is microloan products of up to $50,000 and small business loans that are up to $500,000. And the microloans are actually SBA, or Small Business Administration loans. And really, you can find the information if you have interest in kind of business loans, want to think through it or want to talk through it, better understand it, don't hesitate to reach out. And I'll kind of come back to some core things about finances once I kind of cover the care side. So in as well, Victoria mentioned the MBDA Care Center. The purpose of the MBDA Care Center was we were specifically rolled out during the COVID season to support businesses from the perspective of training, education, and providing consultation or advice to any business that's been impacted by COVID-19 and obviously the restrictions and shutdowns. So that pretty much covers almost any business out there for the most part. There you have been impacted by some way, shape, or form through COVID-19. And the purpose of what we would do here is kind of threefold layers. We want to work with you to think through, okay, how do you make a shift when doors shut down and you can't be physically present? Are there opportunities to really think differently about how to sell or provide your services and products? Is there a electronic platform or a e-commerce platform that makes sense? Is there a way to pivot or change your strategy that way? It's also kind of thinking through, okay, how do you mitigate any risks? How do you minimize the risks that could be coming down the pipe for your business, whether it be around your supply chain, whether it be around workplace health and safety, making sure your people are safe, you're safe, those components. And then really diving into your financials, really thinking through where have you been historically, where are you today with the impact of COVID, and what are you projecting in the future, and really what's the cash flow you need to sustain your business as well as position it for long-term growth. So that's where the CARES comes in. And we do that through a couple different means. We offer webinars that are on our website, so you can find that on our website. We do it through, we provide you a recovery plan template that you can utilize yourself, but also we work with you one-on-one to really work through a very customized plan for your business to really think through how to sustain through the season. I'm going to escape here from the slide for a second, just to kind of highlight a couple key things about finances that I want you to keep in mind. I think typically when we when we think about when financials are needed, it's typically, when businesses are going to ask for capital or investment, or loans, or different types of capital they're looking for. What I'd like you to really think about is, how do you really change that perspective to say, is finance more critical for me, or do I just need it when I'm being asked of it? And I'd actually ask you to think about it from the perspective of, how can you leverage your financial information and your finances to really drive your business, right? And that's really how I'd love for you to think about it. And we, having a dialogue around it, is diving into your financials, setting up an operating rhythm around your financials, looking at, financial statements, knowing what's going on in your numbers, diving into it really starts to inform you of what's working and what's not working in your business. So that's really the point of financials at the end of the day, is it really tells you, what's successful in your business, what's working, where are you maybe bleeding money, where is there opportunity to grow your money, so that it can be reinvested in your business, invested in the things that are important and that you are caring about. So those are the ways I'd like you to shift perspective on financials and how to engage with financials during this time. So I'll pause there, and then we can also cover the PPP funding in a second, but I'll pause there, Deborah, just to see if there's any dialogue we want to have around that.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the comment section here, and I see someone has asked about Marcellus Shields is saying that they are an owner of an independent film company called September 10th. Oh, there we go. And looking for some capital with no avail. So they're looking for some guidance on how they can possibly secure some funding. Can you point them in the right direction?
Sure. I think I would have a couple questions to help drive so I'd like you to think about, where have you been looking for that capital? Has it been purely with traditional banks? If so, kind of what has been the feedback of the hindrance to accessing capital, or have they just been non-responsive? Those are really helpful areas. Where, if it has been generally banks that they've been trying to get capital from, then I would recommend, coming to a CDFI, and there's many CDFIs. TEC is not the only one. So I want to make sure you're aware of several of the other ones. So there are CDFIs, I believe, Finanta is an example. A Community First, I think Finanta are joined. Those are examples of other CDFIs in the area. There is the Reinvestment Fund, I believe, also has lending opportunities there. So there's a list of CDFIs. We can provide that to you. We can share some of that information as follow-up. But there are organizations like that are really tailored to support businesses when they're hitting that roadblock, right? And so my recommendation is explore several CDFIs and see if that could be an opportunity, but also identify kind of, okay, if you're able to get through the door, if people are looking at your package and saying no, then let's talk about what's driving the no, right? I mean, we know there are obviously not the best reasons for saying no, but where, if there is some valid reason for the no, is it that you don't have collateral in the mix? So, banks or, really any lender is really foundationally asking the question, does this person's business have enough cash to be able to make their monthly loan payments? That's the foundational question that a lot of banks are asking when they're making a loan. So if they're looking at your numbers and they're not seeing evidence that you can handle taking on a monthly loan payment, that is typically why there's a no to that. But that's only if you get to that stage of due diligence. So if you're being turned down before that, we would want to really look at the right lender to go to first.
Yeah, thank you for that, Blessy. I see a couple of people have asked, and maybe they missed it at the beginning, but can you define CDFI again for everyone? Sure. Thank you.
It's a community development financial institution. And I'll kind of explain kind of the role. Community development financial institutions are essentially providing access to capital. Like there's a mission to drive access to capital to businesses that typically wouldn't be able to access it through traditional means like banks, right? And we know there's real reasons for those hurdles. So, and a lot of the TEC population is also minority businesses that typically are coming to us as well. So there's a bit more flexible financing through that process. There's where a bank would typically turn you away at a certain very strict cutoff threshold of credit score. We do not. It's not that we don't look at your credit at all. It's that we tend to look at what's behind it, what's driving it, what's been the patterns, that we really try to work with you. So it's typically not a hard and fast rule that we say no because you have a low credit score. We will kind of look into that, dive into that, and look at the whole picture and context. So that's really what a CDFI does.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that, Blessy. And then I would ask you also. So when we're talking about business credibility and the ability to access funds, how does that correlate with personal financial? Is there a correlation? I guess is it yes?
Yes.
And how are decisions made based on that?
I think this is especially true where you're starting off your business, right? Because there's not enough track record within your business for somebody to assess how you manage the financials. Mm-hmm. And I'll say in our organization, we are pulling your personal credit report because typically the business and the personal are overlapping in that situation. There's not completely, it's not separated fully at that point in stage. So that is why your personal financials are looked at. And it's really, at the end of the day, how you manage your personal finances is going to have a correlation to how you may potentially, how you manage the small things that you've been given in stewarding is how it translates to other larger areas of responsibility. So it's not completely devoid, but again, there could be reasons for different things. And so we would want to have that conversation, really understand that in context when we look at your information. But that's how I'd say there's a correlation.
Okay, that's a great answer. Thank you. And then I would ask, and maybe I can ask you this, Victoria. So in terms of the enterprise centers and the services that they offer, I mean, many times in the financial space, let's just be real, our community, sometimes they do have those challenges with, finance. Is there any type of counseling, coaching service, something that this enterprise center offers to give a person a roadmap, right? To get from this dismal financial situation to a place where they become more creditworthy?
Most definitely. So Blessy touched on it a little bit earlier when she mentioned the recovery plan. Mm-hmm. And that is one way to take a look at your business. Take a look at that plan and just start filling it out. We ask people, when we look at a business plan, we're looking at your forecast. How are you forecasting what your thoughts are around growing this business or making it stable enough that it can bring in revenue that you can now enjoy later on? What does that leave? Does that mean you're going to leave a legacy to your family, your children? So one of the things that we do is we want to see what are your planning? What are your thoughts behind the capital that you have? And with COVID last year, your big thing you wanted to do was, Blessy mentioned pivoting. How have you pivoted? We talk about diversifying your portfolio. I've been selling pens all my life, and now all of a sudden there's nobody working in an office to buy the pens that I sell. But if you were buying them from a distributor, was that distributor able to sell you mass? And then could you switch your items that you sold, diversify your portfolio from selling a pen to selling mass that now everyone needs because they're required? You take a look at even when we go through and I sit on our loan review committee and we look at all of the components that Blessy mentioned. When we stop and we see a hiccup, we dig deep to find out what happened. We ask the questions of what happened. And sometimes before we'll make a loan, we'll put a plan in place. We'll put a relationship manager with you a coach with you to kind of say, let's dig through these numbers. Let's go through them to make sure you understand what you did wrong in the past. One of the things that I tell folks that want to start a business, and I love it right before the Super Bowl. And I'm like, you probably have the best football package available. And they're like, yeah, I do. I love to watch my games. And I'm like, great. After Sunday, turn it off. And they look at me and they go, well, what do you mean turn it off? I mean, that package that you're paying Comcast, Verizon, whoever, could be up to $300 a month times 12. That's the money that you could be investing back into your business. So being a business owner sometimes means you have to make some sacrifices. You may have to not have that best Super Bowl, that best sports package. You might be watching Pluto TV that you can stream off of your Fire Stick. You might have to do some other things in order to be able to add those finances back into the business that would help you to be able to get that loan later on. For first-time borrowers or startup businesses, you'll hear some banks and other financial institutions. They want to know if you have any skin in the game. So they'll ask you, how much money have you raised? And you'll look at them and be like, well, I ain't raising no money. That's why I'm coming to you. Well, they're going to be like, well, if you haven't asked your friends and family to invest into your business, why are you asking us? If you don't have confidence that your friends and family will invest into your business, how do you think somebody else is going to invest into your business? So they are looking to see, did you do a GoFundMe page? Did you, there's a number of other entities. Did you apply for any of these grants that are out there? There are so many grants right now that are flowing our way that you need to be staying on top of and applying. So I say all that to say, we don't just say no. We want people to really understand why you might be getting a no. And one of the things that our CEO told me in the very beginning when I started working at the Enterprise Center, she was like, you got to know? Somebody told you no? She said, oh, you just asked the wrong person. Keep asking till you get the yes that you want. And that means I have to, you might be a roadblocker. You're in my way. You're blocking me from getting to my end goal. So don't let that no prohibit you from moving forward in your business. You just hit the wrong person that told you no. You just got to find a yes. So just keep going.
Yeah. So in follow up to that, thank you, Victoria. I just want to ask you spoke about grants being out there and available. How do business owners find those grants? And if it's something that you can share with me later, a website or something, then that would be great.
Well, I will say prior to COVID, it was probably a needle in a haystack. I would tell people that would call Blessy and I, because we run a grant for the federal government. People call me and say, well, don't you give out grants? And I'm like, no, I run a grant for the federal government. I'm in charge of a grant to give you support that you need, but I don't actually give grants. You have to go online. And one of the things that MBDA's website will say, that there's no free money out there. You got to look. So some of the things that I would tell folks is look up foundations and start there. Meaning whether it's a Comcast, whether it's a Verizon, just type in foundations, walk around your house and see what products you buy and sell, and then take that and go Colgate Foundation. And do they have something like that? Right now, being in the news, reading online publications, things that are coming through, Comcast Rise, I'm not sure if the end date of that one has expired. List has put out 2. When you hear it, you got to tap into it. You have to connect yourself to those opportunities to hear about what's going on. So join multiple organizations, newsletters. Are you connected with your local chamber, the African American Chamber? And even if you're not a member, can you get on their newsletter to get their emails? That's a way of being able to stay in the know of what's happening. In New Jersey, are you getting the New Jersey EDA's emails that come out? They put out a newsletter about once a month of all the grants that are coming through that they got funded from, that the governor has went and got. But now you need to know that they're available in order for you to apply for them.
Yeah. So, Victoria, thank you. I'm going to stop you for a minute. I'm going to piggyback on something that you said. So, Comcast, actually, you're right. They did have a grant out there, and the grant, I think, was for like $10,000. It did expire, but there's a second phase to that where they're offering free marketing and promotional support for a year, right? And that deadline is May 31st. So if you go to Comcast Rise and take a look at that on the web and see if you can benefit from applying for that. The other thing I wanted to just stop for a moment, and then I'm going to come back to Blessy, is I want to just remind everyone that MBDA is the Minority Business Development Agency. And then I have to ask you, Victoria, what is EDA?
Economic
Development Agency?
Yes.
Okay.
So you can just type in NJEDA and it'll automatically pop up. In whatever state that you in, you can just type in whatever state and then the EDA and see what pops up.
Okay, great. All right.
I apologize again. The acronyms.
We all do it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No worries. So I'm going to ask you to respond to one more thing before we go back to Blessy. So a couple of people in the comment section were saying they thought that it was a best practice not to borrow money from family members because it just becomes a hot mess. What do you say to that?
So it's one thing if you're trying to say, Mama, I need a loan. Mom, can you give me some money? Because Mom, remember when you was 10 and you asked for the loan and you ain't pay it back. When you was 15 and you ain't pay it back. When you was 25 and you didn't pay it back. So those are not the folks that you're supposed to be asking for the loan. You want to ask those people you want to show them like, look, I have this great product. This is what I do. I'm passionate about it. Everywhere I go, you want them to be tired of hearing you talk about that product that you sell. At every barbecue, every family reunion, you want them because now they know that you're really serious about this. What are you doing that you may, you didn't try 200 different things and they're like, she ain't serious about that. But those are ones where your family and friends are not going to be beneficial. But when you're going to trying to get some funding from some other entities, they're looking to see what, as they say, skin in the game, how much you have invested into your business. Mm-hmm. I'll get people that call me and are looking just for free money and have not invested a dime into anything into their business. They haven't invested into taking a business plan workshop or trying to figure out how do I get a website up. Those are things where people are looking to see if you invested in your business, as well as, did you invest in that social media? Did you invest in your own website versus what's your email address? So for those larger businesses, once you get to a certain point, you got to move away from the AOL, the Gmail, and the Hotmail accounts. And it needs to be your business name, whatever it's going to be, because those are the things that some of the larger corporations are looking at to see, again, have you invested into your business?
Thank you for that. Mm-hmm. I know I keep saying this, and this is the last question for now. Do you know of grants that support for-profit businesses? Here we go. Many foundations require 501c3 status.
Not all of them. If you look at some of them, maybe in the communities, you might be able to find some. There was a couple of grants that have just been out, and please note that Blessy and I have been fighting to make sure that we cover South Jersey. The 76ers had a grant out last month. We fought to make sure South Jersey was included in those. And things like that do not require, those are specifically, some of those are for-profit businesses.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Victoria.
You're welcome.
So, Blessy, let's continue with your presentation.
Sure. How about we continue on the topic of different forms of capital? I do want to touch on Paycheck Protection Program real quick. For everyone who's on the phone who is an existing business, if you have been in a business that has been operating before February 15th of 2020, you are eligible to potentially apply for the Paycheck Protection Program, or what you may be hearing as PPP. And the purpose of PPP is the focus of it is to really keep workers employed. It's job retention, to make sure employers or those who are self-employed can continue to be employed. And as you may have known, that this was rolled out last year when COVID hit, but a second round of it was rolled out essentially end of last year into this year, which is going on. It's actively open right now. Different lenders are accepting PPP loan applications. The program deadline originally was March 31st. I'm waiting for a final confirmation on, I think there's talk of extension to the end of May. I know the House has passed it. I'm waiting for a confirmation whether the Senate has passed it. I think I'm hearing rumors that they have, but there's a high likelihood this will get extended. But my encouragement to everyone is it still is on a first come, first serve basis in terms of the funding. So, the sooner that you get your PPP application in, the better. And PPPs are loans, but they're forgivable loans. And what that means is that basically, if you utilize the funding that you get, if you utilize 60% of the funding that you get for payroll purposes, you can apply for a loan forgiveness, and it is likely that you will be forgiven that loan as long as you can prove that you've utilized 60% of the funding you've received for payroll. Okay. So, obviously many businesses have gone through the forgiveness process, have been forgiven the loan, and they don't need to pay it back. And so that's really the appeal of the PPP, because of the ability for it to be forgiven. And just to highlight, there have been some recent amendments made through the Biden-Harris administration, specifically focused on giving more attention to sole proprietors, independent contractors, and self-employed. What it did was, historically, the calculation of the loan amount was based on the net income line. Now they've changed that rule to be able to calculate off of the gross receipts line. So obviously your gross receipts is typically higher than what your net income is. So it just means that you have the ability to have a larger loan amount that you are eligible for. Right. So if you are interested in that, there is information. We have a webpage, but feel free to reach out to us if you have questions around PPP. But this is a program that's relevant across the nation for businesses to access, and really this is what is open and active right now, especially for you to take advantage of. So wanted to make sure you have an opportunity to hear about that.
Thanks, Blessy. And we'll see if we can get that web address in the comment section so that everyone has that information.
That's good.
Deborah, one of the things I will say is that anything, because it's hard, we can't type into the chat, into the comments section. Okay. So if anyone is looking for any of this information, our website is a wealth of information. And it's theenterprisecenter.com. And you can go there. There's a tab for business, capital, and community. And if you click on the front page, will automatically take you right to our Paycheck Protection Program. We have videos that we have recorded on some workshops. So if you're wondering, we even have a specific video that we did for sole proprietors. So that information is available for you. If you're just not sure, there's an email address that you can email and ask questions about, are you eligible for this funding? If your business, like Blessy mentioned, was up and running before February 15th of 2020, and you filed your 2019 taxes, that answer is you might be eligible. So I will go ahead and take a look and see if you want to apply for that.
Okay. Thank you very much, Victoria. So Blessy, did you want to talk about some other funding options? You're on mute.
The other things that I wanted to quickly touch on is, we've talked about loans real quick. We've talked about grants. Another form of investment or capital is equity investment. So that I don't know how familiar we are all with it. It probably ranges, but equity investments are essentially a level of capital, invested dollars into your business for a certain ownership percentage of your business. Typically, the reason for equity is really when you're getting to a point of growing and scaling, you're getting to a point of investing. You yourself as a business want to invest in some significant technology platform, or you're trying to acquire another company that makes sense to bring into the fold of your business strategy. Those are kind of the elements and areas that typically equity comes into play. I know that this is probably, a good way to think about it is, the realm of what falls into this is you really wouldn't want to finance a technology development, which will take 6 to 12 months to develop, to even realize the revenue and benefit out of that technology investment. You wouldn't want to finance that with a loan where you have to start making loan payments, every month, right? Because you have cash coming out, you have something that you're investing in that's a big investment, and you have not realized your revenue yet. It's coming down in the future. It's still a worthwhile investment. It's just how are you financing it is the question. So the other thing that I think overall you want to think about is, what's the right stack in your capital to address to figure out your strategy, right? Do you want 90% of your funding to come from loans or not? Right. It really depends on what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish. So the thing that's the other thing to consider is, where are you allocating them? Where are you getting your funding sources? Where are you getting your financing from?
Yeah, that's great information. Thank you for sharing those other options. There was a question around PPP that I missed before we moved from that topic, and it was, what is the interest charge on the PPP loan if you have to pay it back?
I think on the PPP the range was 3 to 4%, and I believe it's a 5-year term, or it might be, I don't know if it was extended 10-year term. Victoria, do you recall?
I thought PPP was 1%. The IDA was 3.75.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a 1% loan if it's not forgivable. So what we're saying is, let's make it forgivable. Follow the rules.
Yeah.
It's real simple. You can use 60% of it on payroll. You can use it for utilities. You can use it for the personal protective equipment. If you have if you needed the shields or things like that, depending upon what type of business you have, use the funds that way. What I tell folks is the money that's coming in for the contracts that you currently have, put that money in the bank and use your paycheck protection funds to pay payroll, because you'll have to show it. And you can go anywhere from 8 weeks to 24 weeks on extending that out before you have to submit the paperwork for the PPP loan forgiveness. But right now, it is forgivable, anything under $150,000. So we just want to follow the rules to make sure that it is all forgivable.
Yeah, I would agree. For PPP, don't plan on it functioning like a loan. I would encourage you to really work hard towards making it that forgivable. But the EIDL that Victoria referenced, that's the 3 to 4% loan. It's a 30-year term. That's a direct loan from SBA, the Small Business Administration. That is also open right now. That's typically 3 to 4% is the range that we've seen on there. You can actually apply for that directly on the SBA's website. They have an application up.
Okay. That's great information.
So Deborah, I want to answer this one other question that popped in. Yes, a lot of people. So initially, the PPP back last year was set up so that your employees did not have to leave, that they didn't have to go on unemployment. So that's where those funds came in at. Now they're allowing you, if you applied last year, to apply again for draw 2, or you can apply for draw 1. And some folks are even being able to apply for draw 2. SBA is looking at it just to make sure that you have used up all the funds in draw 1. But the documents that are being asked for, so say you don't have any payroll, you're still using your tax returns to count, even if you don't pay yourself. We're looking, like the Blessing mentioned, that net income, gross receipts off of your tax return. If you're doing a 1040 Schedule C, if you're, using some of those other forms, 1120S, those tax forms, we are looking to see like what your K1 was, which is the ownership. Some of your tax returns, your accountants use that K1 and added wages in that section there. So we kind of know where to look in all of those different tax documents to see if you are eligible for it. So you still may qualify for it.
So I think might be helpful to give the example here. So if you're a sole proprietor, self-employed, so you can be an LLC or an independent contractor. But let's do the sole proprietor LLC kind of mode. If you pull your 1040 Schedule C and look at your gross receipts, right? Based on the new amendments, you can do it based on your gross receipts. Take your gross receipts, divide it by 12, and then multiply it by 2.5. That is what you would be eligible for in terms of PPP, right? Even if you're the only one in the business and working for the business. So that's really that's a very practical example of how that would play for an LLC.
Okay, that's great information. Thank you. I don't see more, I see more comments than I see questions, but everyone's very, very engaged and appreciative of the information. I had a couple of questions that I wanted to ask. So, and I know you probably touched on this already. So typically the Enterprise Center supports businesses with 1 million and higher in revenue, but you don't turn away from coaching and helping businesses with less than that. Would that be an accurate statement?
Yes. So what it is that one of the programs that the Enterprise Center has works with businesses that are minority businesses that are 1 million and above in annual revenue.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Business Center. That's Minority Business Development Agency Business Center.
Mm-hmm.
The Enterprise Center will work with, we kind of work with everyone, even though our day-to-day is normally clients that are about 25,000 and above. If you call us and ask us a question and you're a startup, we just don't close the door and say, no, we can't answer that question for you. Go somewhere else. We're going to tell you where to go. We're going to ask you have you reached out to the SCORE? So SCORE Philadelphia, SCORE New Jersey. Have you reached out to the Small Business Development Center, the SBDCs? So Temple has one, Rutgers and Camden has one. Some other businesses, the PTACs, the Procurement Technical Assistant Training centers, have you reached out to them? There are a number of places that you can reach out to for help and assistance. For businesses in the South Jersey area, have you reached out to LAIDA if you're just starting your business and you want to get some training and development? Those are some of the things. We'll provide you with a list of resources that you can go to tap into to help you grow your business and understand what it is. My favorite place to send people is the Small Business Administration, SBA.gov. Mm-hmm. Anything you want to know is in the SBA.gov. I love their magazine. When we were in a non-virtual world and in our office, I kept old copies because I told people it's great information. Mm-hmm. Even when you have nothing else to do, pick it up and just read an article. But it's always some good information to help you understand your business. You did a business planning session already. SBA's website has a place where you can build your business plan right on their website. So that's the go-to. That's the number one place to go. Depending on when you type it in, you can put your zip code in and it'll tell you the services that are available for you where you live. So I saw some people in the comment section were up in New York. SBA.gov, put in your zip code and you'll find out what services are near where you live.
Yeah, that's really great. And we actually took advantage of that as well because the SBA will also assign a mentor to you, mm-hmm. someone that you can reach out to, day to day, if you have any specific questions and we'll provide you with some great guidance. So I think I agree, Victoria, that's an excellent resource. Yeah. So I see a question here. Someone said, to register your business name, is it better to go through Washington? I'm not quite sure. And again, Victoria, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not quite sure why we would go through Washington. If we were registering the business name, we would just.
If you're so registering your business name, you typically will register your business in the state that you are having your headquarters of your business in. So if you happen to live in Washington, D.C., then yes, you would go through Washington. You want to go through and you can type in like name entity, business name entity. You want to check to see if your name is available in your state that you live in, because Patty's Pies might be already taken by Patty LaBelle, and I can't now call myself Patty's Pies because the name is already taken. So you want to make sure you distinguish yourself from someone else. Make sure you're separated yourself, and that's how people get duplicate business names, by not checking in the state that you live in. Now there might be a Patty's Pie in Pennsylvania because Patty is in Philadelphia, but there may not be a Patty's Pies in New Jersey, which is fine. But you want to make sure that how are you going to distinguish yourself from that other company that may have that same name, but you got to register it with the city in the state that you live in. You're going to go to Washington to get your EIN number. And with that is what identifies what your social security number. When you were little, your parents got you a social security number. Your social security number for your business is that EIN. And you can just type in EIN in your Google search, and all the information will pop up. And you can get that. And once you check to make sure your name was available, then go ahead and register the business and get your EIN number. Leslie, I didn't know if you had anything else to add to that.
Nope, you covered it.
Yeah, that was really great. Thank you for that response. And then it made me think of something else. It's like maybe in a future session, maybe we then move and talk about trademarking, right? Your branding and trademarking your name, and that's just another session outside of this. But for the registration piece, I think Victoria covered all of that for us. So if you guys have more questions, we're almost at the top of the hour. Just please feel free to put them in the chat. I'm also always going to be partial to New Jersey, but I'm so grateful for the information that you all are sharing. But Victoria, can you talk about some of the other programs that you have running, like the construction program and
Sure.
I think there's a janitorial service program. Can you talk about those?
Sure. So we have it'll be almost 5 years in April that we started a construction consortium. Really just started getting requests from small construction businesses about, there was a lot of business happening in the West Philadelphia section from Amtrak 30th Street Station on up of West Philadelphia. And a lot of Black and brown businesses felt as though they were going to be left out of that building. So we started the consortium of bringing all of these businesses together and having a conversation and listening to what they wanted. It morphed into its own little group. And now they meet every third Friday of the month. We bring in a GC, general contractors. We'll bring in developers to talk about projects that are coming up so that they will know. People do business with people that they know. And if they don't know you, one of the things we try to not do is put your name on a list, because then people can just A, B, C, I like this name and I select this person. We want to put you in a room like this to be able to say, Deborah, wow, I really like Deborah. I got a chance to meet with her. I got a chance to connect with her, but Blessy gave me something really special. And I think I might want to call Blessy back. We want to make sure that we can put people in front of those opportunities so that they can make a connection with the other person, so they remember them when that opportunity comes back up. We have a janitorial consortium that we started because of COVID. One of our entrepreneurs is a part of a coalition, and was a number of powerful people in Pennsylvania that pulled together, and they were able to go in and do cleaning services in Harrisburg and in some of the federal buildings up there. We're now trying to morph that from Harrisburg and bring it to the Philadelphia, South Jersey region to be able to have businesses, all of those cleaning services businesses connect and figure out how did you, before COVID, you was just cleaning. Now, after COVID, in the midst of COVID, you're disinfecting, you're sterilizing. And that's the difference. That's distinguish you from a regular cleaning company. And so we make sure that people are trained. They can either get the finances to purchase the material that they need. They have a COVID-19 certification. Is your business been trained to get this COVID-19 certification? We run a small business resource transportation center, which is funded under the Department of Transportation, working with businesses that are dealing with anything transportation related. So rail, so Amtrak, the airports, infrastructure, even businesses that may be doing construction, but doing construction and infrastructure projects, building bridges, rehabbing, those types of things. That group works to make sure that we can bring those opportunities and connections. So a couple of weeks ago, we did an event with the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission, and we're looking to bring some of these services to New Jersey. So stay tuned for more information from us. We are excited to really put a footprint in New Jersey in 2021. So if all goes well, I ask you to send up some prayers. I will be back to explain more about what that looks like in the future. So
Thank you so much, Victoria, and thank you so much, Wesley. We appreciate you taking the time to us, and we are definitely, we've already talked about, we want you back for sure, right? But I think, I mean, you've shared so much critical information with us today, and and on top of the financial, you know, tips that you gave us, I want people to also recognize the importance of networking, the importance of connecting with people and connecting with associations and people that are in similar industries, because I don't know, had I not known Victoria from a previous life, I'll say, I would not have been aware of the Enterprise Center and the amazing things she's doing there. And I think she gave some very good advice tonight that said, get online, Google stuff, really do your research and connect with, you know, I don't know how many of us on this call would have thought that Comcast would have had some type of grant available, but we do have to connect with people, and we do have to do our own research, and we can Google anything, and you'd be surprised at what you might find. We had, before we close out, we only have like a minute or two. Someone was asking about how do you trademark your name? Is there a website they can go to? So, I mean, some people will engage a trademark attorney, and then you can also go to the U.S. Trademark Association or the International Trademark Association, and it will give you the information that you need to register there. So I just want to once again thank our speakers for investing this time in us, and we definitely look forward to having you back, again. And I want to let all of you who joined us, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your comments and your questions. I hope you found value in spending this time with us. The Bethany Business Association will be bringing you social media marketing for the month of April, and I hope that many of you and others will come back and join us again for that. So with that said, again, thank you to our speakers, thank you to our audience, and you guys have a blessed night.